Alright, so we went over the whole spiel in the earlier video today, talking about Philippe Deneau and the Canadiens and whether or not his time is running out, but gonna say the same thing in this video. Hey, we're in a position where the offseason has started to kick in. It's in full effect now. The rumors, the trade bait, the free agents, all that stuff has kinda died down. Meaning the videos that we were making for the past few weeks, speculation, huge updates, all that stuff that is super meaty, important, and albeit that gets a lot of views, I'll say that. It's kind of died down a little bit, but it's all good because I've been making a ton of videos. I'm in a position where now I think it's cool to just lay back a little bit. You know, we've been working really hard on the channel. Everybody here has been watching the videos, eating up the content, subscribing, liking, all that stuff. I'm so appreciative of all the support for sure, but now because there's not really much to talk about, we're going over some of the topics that don't require me to just read off of an article I saw. We're going over topics that I can just go on about for ages, and topics that I just kind of know from the bottom of my heart. And in this one, we're going over a topic that we did discuss back when it happened, but it just happened a year and a half ago. So I think now, with the prospects, the Calder race, all this stuff for 2021 being discussed out there, thrown up into the air, I think it's a very interesting idea to talk about the Vancouver Canucks, the Detroit Red Wings, and current Anaheim Ducks prospect Trevor Zegras. Let's talk about the 2019 NHL Entry Draft and go over what exactly happened. So, the top 10 of the 2019 NHL Entry Draft went like this. We kind of know what happened. It was Dach, Hughes, Kaapo, Kakko. Third overall, you saw a surprise in Kirby, Dach. Fourth overall, Bowen, Byram, not a surprise. Fifth overall, Turcotte, not a surprise. Sixth overall, Detroit. They had themselves a pick, and they chose Moritz Seider, a guy whom Red Wings fans absolutely adore, or at least the ones that watch this YouTube channel, I know they absolutely adore. For seventh overall, we saw a not really surprising pick as Dylan Cousins went to the Buffalo Sabres. Eighth overall, we saw another surprise as the Edmonton Oilers took Philip Broberg. And I say surprise because, like Moritz Seider, nobody was really projecting Broberg to be somewhere in that top spot. People said that he probably could have been a top 5 talent a year before the draft, but that was after the Hlinka Gretzky. It wasn't really at the moment of the actual draft day. Then at 9th overall, you had yourselves Trevor Zegras, the man we're talking about in this video, and then the Vancouver Canucks picked 10th, and they selected Vasili Podkolzin. This video goes over how exactly the Vancouver Canucks were interested in trading up to 6th overall to take Trevor Zegras. Let's go over a few sources over here. First off, before the draft, we had notes from different insiders, different media outlets about who exactly the Vancouver Canucks were super high on heading into the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. Now, the draft was in Vancouver, so a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I knew in real life, and colleagues of mine were very interested in this draft. A lot of people went, I didn't, I stayed at home. I was recording myself watching the draft, even though I was like a SkyTrain away from Rogers Arena when it happened. But because Vancouver was a hot spot for draft rumors, we saw a whole bunch of stuff on the Vancouver Canucks and who they would have been interested in. We actually made a video about it before the draft that the Vancouver Canucks were seemingly super high on Peyton Krebs, Alex Newhook, and Trevor Zegras. These were the guys that they interviewed. We all know what happened with Zegras. He went 9th overall. But as for Krebs and Newhook, they dropped post 15 to the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche, which was a huge surprise. But the Canucks were apparently interested in these guys. Now, Trevor Zegras, the man we're talking about today, was ranked by most to be a top 5, top 6 talent. He was seen as the most creative player on the NTDP team, which is kind of crazy because they had Jack Hughes on that squad. Zegras, an elite playmaker with gifted hands and an overall IQ that shot itself up over the moon. This guy just knew how to find teammates out of nowhere. His creativity was insane, and his two-way game was not too shabby either. Long story short, whether you played this guy as a center or a left wing, Trevor Zegras was seen by many to be an elite potential number 1 playmaker. And he was projected by some to being a top 5, top 6, top 7 talent. Which is why when we heard from J.D. Burke, from a source that the Vancouver Canucks were actively trying to move up in the draft, with their most likely destination in their crosshairs being the Detroit Red Wings at 6th overall, everybody kind of freaked out. We had word from guys like Rick Dhaliwal that the Vancouver Canucks had a really nice meeting with Trevor Zegras. They liked him a lot, but the question was, could they move up to get him? J.D. Burke said something similar. If the Canucks moved up to draft number 6, his guess was they were doing so to draft Zegras. And so now from this commentary, we can go down 2 directions. First off, for the Canucks faithful, you can say, okay, would you have wanted to trade what was probably Podkolzin and a Niels Höglander or Podkolzin and a Tyler Madden or something to move up to get 6th overall. Because that's kind of the price, right? You're going from 10 to 6. You're not just going to be able to get there by trading away a 6th or a 7th. You kind of got to add something of value. Would you have wanted to do Podkolzin, Höglander, or Madden for Zegras? That's a question right there. We'll answer that at the end, in my opinion. But for the Red Wings faithful, there's certainly a different philosophy coming out of this idea now, too. Because if you're the Detroit Red Wings, you're taking a look at this and you're saying, would we have been able to move down in the 2019 NHL Draft, acquire a 2nd or a 3rd, whether that be a Niels Höglander-like player or a Tyler Madden, and maybe even drafted Seider at 10? Because if we take a look at all the rankings, yeah, Seider was a guy who a lot of people were like, yeah, this guy's not going to be a top 10 talent. Why is he even being considered here? He was the biggest shock of the top 10, for sure. But hold your horses there. Because it's easy to say, okay, look at the draft rankings. Seider wasn't really ranked to go anywhere in this range, so in theory, the Red Wings should have traded down, they should have picked Seider at 10, they would have gotten their guy, and they would have gotten themselves another pick or two. A really good prospect, I guess. But the problem is Edmonton. And we spoke about this earlier in previous videos as well, but rumors were coming out heavy on draft day that the Oilers were really into a defenseman. It's why when they picked Philip Broberg, not really too many people were surprised. Like, a lot of people were surprised, as in, okay, I can't believe Philip Broberg went top 10, but the common consensus that I remember was mostly just, oh, yeah, of course Edmonton took Broberg. Ah, man. And then reports came out a little bit later saying that they were really interested in Seider too, which kind of puts a whole monkey wrench in the idea of the Red Wings trading down. Because in a more theoretical situation, I think it would be more realistic to say if the Red Wings traded down to 10, they would not have gotten Seider, despite the fact that Seider wasn't projected to be a top 10 talent in the slightest back then at the 2019 draft, and the fact that you're just going down 4 spots. The Oilers are the wild card here. So if you're a Detroit fan, I ask you this, because I know you guys love Seider. He's a very good player. I like him too. But if you were to get yourselves a Niels Höglander or a Tyler Madden as well, would you have turned that Moritz Seider into, let's say, another defenseman who was available at 10th overall, like Victor Soderstrom or a Cam York? Seider's a right-handed guy, so Soderstrom kind of makes the most sense there, but would you have done that regardless? Let's go back over to the Vancouver side of things, because for me, personally, I think you could definitely see both arguments. I think just from a quantitative point of view, I'd rather have Podkolzin and a Höglander than a Trevor Zegras, but when it comes to strictly just the first round option, would you rather have Zegras or Podkolzin? It really is a toss-up. Offensively, if my goal is to score more goals, get Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser more points in the long term, I'm saying Trevor Zegras, because this guy is an absolute gifted playmaker. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to be very good in creating plays at the NHL level. In my opinion, Trevor Zegras is a guy who could probably max out at 70 or maybe even 80 points in a year, maybe more than that. But the way Podkolzin plays is so unique, it's so different, and it's such a strange dynamic that the Vancouver Canucks don't have. A bulldog who is absolutely going to go out there, work hard, and be a leader. He's like a Tyler Mott, but a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and a guy who has displayed a huge offensive flair in certain international tournaments. So there's a difference there, for sure, and I can totally see why somebody would say one over the other. For the sake of diversity, I guess you could say Podkolzin, because hey, if we already have too many playmakers and goal scorers, why not add the grit tough guy who can also get in offensively as well? But of course, that's for you to comment in the comment section below. As for the Detroit question, would I trade down from 6 to 10 to get another prospect if it means going from Moritz Seider to another guy, let's say Soderstrom? I've been a huge fan of Soderstrom, man. I don't know, it's really tough. I know Red Wings fans love Seider, I do, but man, there's a pretty small gap between him and Soderstrom in terms of their overall development thus far, in my opinion. So it's really tough, but ultimately, value-wise, it comes down to saying, okay, would you rather have that extra Höglander in there as well? Because that is a huge piece of it too. So I think, personally, I'd probably say yes, because I like both of those guys, Seider and Soderstrom, even though I know a lot of Red Wings fans would probably say, no, Seider's going to be our number 1 D-man, I want this guy, I'd keep him. It really depends. which is why I'm targeting 2 fan bases in this video. Talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, the topics are going to be a little bit different from here on out, and we're going to be making less videos overall, but it kind of does appeal to my soul, personally. So, talk to me in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed this video, and bye.